Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Mod Talks, brought to you by Modularity Home. My name is Nikki Gil Albert, and I will be your host for today. You guys are in for a very exciting afternoon as we chat with some of the best in the industry. And I may be the most excited person in the room about this because many of you may not know, but prior to the quarantine, I was an interior design student. I was just about to finish what was supposed to be my final year in PSID. My mom is also an interior design graduate, and my husband a real estate developer. So you can imagine how absolutely thrilled and nervous I am to be face to face or screen to screen rather with some of my personal design heroes. I also happen to be a proud owner of a Scavellini kitchen, which was designed in collaboration with Modularity Home, whose general manager we will be chatting with as well. But before we go any further, I would just like to briefly talk about Modularity Home and why Mod Talks was birthed. So, Modularity Home has been around since 2010. They are the exclusive distributors of luxury Italian home brands such as Scavellini, Valcucine, Pianca, and Alica. They focus on modular cabinetry systems that started with kitchens, which is, as we all know, the heart of the home. But they have since expanded onto living spaces, bathrooms, closets, and accessories, basically elements that go beyond the kitchen and inject soul into our homes. Now, Mod Talks is a webinar series produced by Modularity Home. This was born out of an idea to inspire and ignite interest in style, design, and architecture. The aim is to encourage conversation about new design concepts and innovations because, as we all know, we are facing very challenging times, what with everyone being asked to stay put and stay home 24/7. And so we hope that these conversations will keep end users as well as fellow industry practitioners informed and engaged. So this is a collaborative platform that we share with industry professionals to educate and contribute insights about design, architecture, style, construction, and home improvement based on their professional or personal experience. I know we have a lot of architects, designers, fellow students, homeowners, and design enthusiasts watching this afternoon. So thank you everyone for joining us. And once again, welcome to the first episode of Mod Talks. And this episode is called Design Evolution, Defining the Filipino Home. Today, we will be discussing the changing landscape of home design. And I personally think this webinar couldn't be more timely as everyone tries to, kind of reconfigure their spaces to accommodate work from home and distance learning setups, maybe build more storage for hoarding for the zombie apocalypse, and basically just trying to navigate through having every member of the family at home the entire day. We will also be getting insights from our guest speakers about how luxurious Italian sensibilities seamlessly integrate with the lifestyle of the modern Filipino family. Which brings me to our first speaker, a family man himself. He is the general manager of Modularity Home and he has become a family friend thanks to our close collaboration on designing my dream Scavellini home kitchen. Please welcome Mr. Brian Hontiveros. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. I just wanted to share a few things. First, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's attending today. I know you guys are busy in one way or another, and I appreciate that you guys took the time out to listen to us today. I wanted to share what Modularity Home is to me personally. As most of you know, I've been connected to Italian brands since actually I was born. Our family, my uncle, my parents have been importers of Elba appliances since 30 or 40 years ago. Because of this relationship that we have with Italian brands, in 2010, in partnership with my wife, I started Modularity Home. And with Modularity Home, we carry 3 or 4 important brands, Scavellini being the first, which is actually the biggest, strongest Italian kitchen brand in the market, with over 1,000 showrooms worldwide. Valcocine recently joined our portfolio. They carry the most premium brand in terms of kitchens, and they focus on glass and aluminum kitchens. The third one, which is the most recent one, is Pianca. With Pianca, we focus on day systems, which is basically libraries, entertainment cabinets, and night systems, which is closet systems and case goods. So I'm also very interested in meeting people and understanding requirements, meeting different personalities. And this business is really perfect for that passion, which also is the reason why we started MODTalks, which is basically a series of casual discussions or conversations about design and architecture. We want to share with you insights from experts. This is a sharing and learning experience. You guys can ask questions in the Q&A. And what's important now is with Zoom and all these technology, we bring this right in front of your screens using this platform. So this first episode, I'm pleased to introduce to you guys Sir Budji Layug and Architect Royal Pineda, who are actually good friends of mine. We collaborate on projects, but most importantly, I treat them as mentors and very good friends. They're very generous in terms of sharing knowledge, not just to me, but to the entire community. And without further ado, I wanted to pass it back to Nikki so she can do formal introductions. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks, Brian. Actually, I am about to introduce our distinguished speakers, even if they need no further introduction. Budji Royal Architecture Design is the Philippines' lead advocate of modern Filipino architecture design. Named National Innovators, Principal Designer Budji Layug and Principal Architect Royal Pineda founded this total design firm, widely acknowledged for its visionary, progressive approach and distinctive modern Filipino sensibility worldwide. From bespoke homes, luxe tropical resorts, to master planned townships and nation-building projects, the creative duo believes in uplifting lives through design. This is evident in their works for bridges, local and international airports in Cebu and Clark, and the iconic athletic stadium and aquatic center for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. Budji Royal has just released the much-awaited book, Budji Design Journey, the first of a trilogy. Currently, they have the creation of Bangkota, the Philippines Pavilion for Dubai Expo 2020. Everyone, let's give a warm cyber welcome to Mr. Budji Layug and Architect Royal Pineda.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Architect Sir Budji. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon to you, Nikki, Brian, and to everyone. No? Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting us in your first Mod Talks. Hello, everyone, and nice to have this time with all of you.
Sir Budji, I was told that this is your first time doing a webinar. Si Architect Royal ata ano na vet sanay na
Right.
Okay, well, we're gonna be having an easy conversation. I am just so excited to pick your brain. I'm sure everyone watching is excited to throw in some questions as well. Maybe starting with what made you participate today? I mean, I'm sure your schedules are packed.
Well, in my case, Brian has been very nice and it's truly a good friend. So I had no choice, but I enjoy. I look forward to this time with Royal and everyone there.
Okay, now I'm sure you will agree with me when I say that many industries were, affected by the pandemic, and safe to say that the construction and design industry was not spared. Constructions have been put on hold. I'm sure meetings are more difficult to conduct. What would you say are the new challenges that you are experiencing, and how are you adapting to the change in your design process?
Well, actually, definitely there's a lot of differences, no? With this pandemic, I think there is really a new consciousness for everybody to somehow adapt to. This Zoom meetings is like every minute. There's a lot of requests for meetings, no? And I think in a way it's good because there's this window of more efficiency. You don't have to travel anymore when you need to meet with our clients. You can actually be with them instantly, for some meetings. But I think there are also some disadvantages wherein, again, the number of people in the construction site, some projects needs to be slower. But I think just because of certain village requirements or protocols. But in terms of projects and how we are doing things now, we are quite surprised that it opened us up to, again, a very efficient way of doing work from home and making everything count. No, it's like the essentials, are really, in front of you, and there's more. I would say we're more mindful. With everything that we do, it's really about efficiency.
Architecture Budji, I'm sure as homeowners yourselves, you see the needs of the Filipino homes. It's starting to shift. I mean, even without the pandemic, I would imagine you've witnessed how design just evolves over time. But what would you say are the most significant differences now in terms of like the client's spatial requiremements, design requirements, to adapt to the changing times?
Well, I believe that the times call for new ways to find out how it can be more, we can function better in these times. Particularly right now with the pandemic, people stay home most of the time, and it's become more important that the home is well worked out properly so that you can maximize your communications with your clients and with your family and your friends.
Yeah, I do agree. Like as I mentioned, there's this new consciousness. You have to, people are doing things on their own in their own house. No, so it's almost like a do it yourself thing. No, with all the functions that you're looking for because you're the one really engaging into the actions. So you are more aware of this need. No, not like before. We only sleep in our homes now because we go to work, we leave our homes in the morning, we come back in the evening. We totally missed out all these items, this everyday living. But now it's constant. Now it's like you're just within the four corners of your home. And again, I think it's efficiency and again function that is very important, in the way things are evolving. I think it's really less of the decor. It's really the most important element that you're looking for.
I'm looking at the photos being flashed. They're absolutely gorgeous. For new clients, architect Mr. Budji, would you say there has been a request for a more biophilic design? Like are people asking for those indoor outdoor kind of marriages in terms of architecture?
More and more clients are asking for spaces that can bring their families together and friends together in terms of how they can entertain themselves. Like we have now spaces like playroom, library, family room, and workspaces all in one big space, one big floor, wherein they can, they can play with their children, they can play with their friends, they can entertain almost like not even like as though they go out. They have a bar, they have entertainment, theaters, etc. So now, what's most important, particularly, is to be able to give the necessary function that it needs, like cabinetries for workspaces, for dressing room, bathrooms, kitchens, most especially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Nikki, just to add on that, no, I like what you're seeing in the screen, no. Um, I think people are more conscious with health, no. We want fresh air, we want cross
Yes.
ventilation, we want, and that's always been the philosophy of Budji Royal. No? We always want to engage ourselves and be one with nature. And it's just perfect because people are now appreciating that. Even, you look at all these small condo units, small houses, they try to put in potted plants as many as they can just to
Yes.
be able to have that feeling of I mean
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a trend now, like all these potted plants are sprouting, and
Plantitos and plantitas.
correct. So I mean, if you can have this integrated from the very beginning of the design of your house, it would be much better. Like what you see here in the picture. I mean, you can be sitting in your kitchen, in your dining, but you're always with the garden, with the natural element. So I think the modern Filipino architecture and design has always been ready for this kind of situation. No? So
Mm-hmm.
the way our tropical houses in the Philippines are designed to have cross ventilation, it's always been like a COVID-ready design.
I like that. COVID-ready interiors. Now, before we, thank you, architect. Before we dive deeper and kind of get lost in our discussion, we'd like to invite all of you guys to take part in our poll. I think this will be very interesting. We want to know, where have you been spending the most time in the house now? So maybe we can ask our panelists that. Where have you been spending the most time in the house now? I have personally been spending more time in the kitchen. How about you, Brian, architect, Sir Budji?
Um, I, Hi, Nikki. I, for me, it's also in the kitchen because number one, that's our business. So I have to say that. But number two, before this, before this situation, we've always been fans of eating out. We support a lot of restaurants, across the board, different kinds um, of food, right? But
Mhm.
today, because of the situation, it's a little bit more difficult. I know, one of my good friends would say that it's still different to dine in, and hopefully a lot more people will push forward, and the economy will move forward. But with the situation now, my wife has been cooking a lot of good stuff. Like we would imagine, our trips to San Francisco or to Spain, and she would try to remake these dishes to
Is she
create
right
that.
beside you now? She right
Yeah,
beside
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. She is behind the camera. So
Okay.
no, but honestly speaking, it's really refreshing. It's
Yeah.
it's a new bonding moment where you experience this with your family, with your kids.
Mhm.
For those who live with their parents, it's the same situation. So I really spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So for me, that's the answer.
Okay. Architect and Sir Buji, the choices are kitchen, living or office space, or bedroom. Where
Uh,
are you spending most of your time these days?
can I give you something that's not in your list? Uh,
Sure, architect.
but I spend a lot of time in my entertainment room. Uh,
Oh, wow.
where I can also have my quiet moment. But
Mhm.
that's also where I can do my Zoom sometimes, my meetings.
Yes.
But I think what's always good is because also the spaces that I have is always open to the garden. So I think it's that engaging feeling with nature that makes me comfortable. So sometimes I do walk out to the lanai, and the most irresistible part I think is really the kitchen, because now you just do a few steps and you're all prepared, no? That the food is all prepared in front of
Yes.
the refrigerator, and you just do quick microwaves and everything. Everything is just so easy.
Exactly.
I think it's everybody's habit now, and I think that's why kitchen design is becoming more critical. And when I say entertainment, even the entertainment designs, no, I mean, these are part of what we feel like modular design should be done properly, because again, this is about curating a function, no? And also establishing a mood in every space.
Yes. How about Sir Budji?
Oh, of course, aside from the kitchen, which is everybody's favorite place, and aside from your own, let's say, bedroom, one of the most important spaces that I've created in the house is a dressing room.
A
In the
dressing room.
It's also a workspace, also a library, also a entertainment room. It's really one big room wherein it's a dressing room. My clothes are there. My workspace is there. My entertainment center is there. And it's as big as my bedroom alone already. So, a personal workspace, a dressing room, library, and bedroom is very important.
Yes. These are multifunctional rooms that are tailor fit to the individual.
That's
Now,
right.
yes, we touched on this earlier, no, Architect Royal and Sir Budji. We were talking about how the design requirements of some of your clients have changed. But can you give us more specifics? Like, what have been the most common requests from clients ever since the lockdown? Like,
Oh,
do they have non-negotiables?
one very important space or request that client said is a man cave actually.
A man cave.
Cave. Most houses now that we do have a man cave. It's basically where the father, the head of the family, entertains or spends a lot of his time, and it's actually where you can have a kitchen as well, a small kitchen, a billiard room, theater, PlayStation room, bar. I think one very nice big new space to work with.
Yeah,
I
well,
see.
that just to agree with Buji, because I think because everybody's trying to first be entertained in their own homes, no? So everything, if you can do everything in your own house, the better,
Yes.
So basically, entertainment, all these man cave and audio video rooms, these are all the very specific now that they really think about what they want in terms of what will you do in your house whenever you're having this situation of having a lockdown again.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's almost like having all the amenities in your house. So definitely I think that's how it's evolving, and consciously they're very very, I would say, detailed, because again, even these spaces are designed to be like workspaces. It's part of their requirement that these spaces can also be chosen as workspaces, because they just carry
Yes.
their laptops and they just lounge in one corner and maybe in another corner. But basically, almost all the corners of your house is a workspace.
Yes, yes. How about architect, how about mud rooms? Is this a thing now, or maybe bigger storage, like a bigger pantry? Is this do you see these requests coming up more often?
Storage will always be a big issue of requirement, because it's never enough.
Yes.
People will always say it's not enough, even if there's 100 square meter of storage, 200 square meter. But I think when you're talking of storage design, I think people are with their own time being at home, they get to manage their things because there's nothing else to do, no? They,
Yes.
they get to organize and and definitely they became very conscious about this, and these storages are quite well designed now. No, we
Mm-hmm.
designed it almost like it's a walk-in closet, or these are very good rooms where sometimes we even put together the wine room. No, so it's a must, because I think again homeowners are hands-on because they're
Mm-hmm.
basically operating their homes now, not like before. As I said, even that's why there's a man cave. No,
Yes.
the man of the house now stays at home. So if he wants some quiet time, he has a space for him. No, so
Yes, yes.
uh,
Now,
But can I add
yes,
on
Sir
to that?
Budji, go ahead.
Very interesting to say, in this time of COVID, wherein you're locked into your house, wherein
Mm-hmm.
you're indoor most of the time. I think a very nice feature of a home, and I spend a lot of it, is a roof deck, wherein I
Roof
have
deck.
a roof deck, wherein I have a view on the top of the trees, tree tops.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a garden, roof deck garden. It's like a lanai. I have a sitting room, a dining area, a small service bar. And I think that's one of the things we need to consider is wherein there's, let's say, a lockdown, that you can be able to go up into the top of your
Mm-hmm.
house and see nature and
Yes.
create spaces there that you can actually live most of the time outdoors.
Very important also for one's mental health.
That's
Di po
right.
ba?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at some of your works right now, and I see that all of the things that you've mentioned have been integrated to them. Um, Now, sadly, though, if we can just go back to talking about storage, which as a woman, as the one who's actually organizing the homes, I would have to strongly agree that it is one of the most important things in a home, but sadly, not quite prioritized by many designers, architects, or homeowners while they are designing their homes. Um, Typically they build a home, they purchase a house, and with a thought that I'll just add cabinets eventually, I'll just add those things later on. But Sir Buji, you also mentioned that they are the DNA of the home. The storage spaces help anchor the architecture. Why are cabinet systems important in the Filipino home, and why do they need to be added before alongside with the development of the architectural details?
Yeah. Well, you see, nowadays people buy a lot of personal things, personal clothes and other things that they need every day. And designing a storage space or a space wherein there are cabinets for clothes, for let's say shoes, for even let's say many other things that you need and buy. They're expensive things that you buy most of the time, and you want to put them. And when you open the cabinets, you want to see them. You just don't want to store them and hide them, and you never see them again. So it's very important to plan storage spaces, cabinets. Dressing rooms, workspaces, wherein when you go into the room and you look into the cabinets, you see everything and you open them or they're open shelves, you see everything so you don't forget them.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Brian? In your experience, how are cabinet systems incorporated in an entire space? I'm sure you're dealing with, a lot of clients who are asking for storage space. But how do you go about this when the structure's built?
Uh, Hi, Nikki. I actually liked what Sir Buji, told me once that the cabinet system should be, part of the DNA of the house.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of architects and interior designers who treat it the same way, meaning, during the early stages of the design, they already incorporate the cabinet systems as built-in cabinetry. I think whenever we deal with situations like this, or when we deal with residential homes, we respect both the architect, the designer, and also the end user.
Mm-hmm.
If you see this photo here, it's actually a Scavolini and Diesel collaboration. It's what they call the Diesel Open Workshop. I think
Beautiful.
it anchors it really well in terms of with these industrial elements, but at the same time, it's still minimalist. You see these glass windows that are very bright. I think the design aesthetic also is very important. But then when we get to talk to the end users, like when we were planning your kitchen, Nikki, we had to understand like how much appliances do you want to put in there, or how much storage do you actually need, or do you deal with open shelving like what you see on the right side of the photo. It's actually a marriage of collaboration between us, the architect, the interior designer, and the client. So I think this is one good example. What do you guys think, Architect Royal?
Well, I think that collaboration is very important now, especially when you're trying to create a very distinct space for you personally. If I'm a client, I also don't want to just get something off the floor and put it in my house, no? And be just a generic kitchen or a generic entertainment cabinet or a closet, no? I think this is where the couture approach really comes in, wherein things will be very crafted and designed particularly for the client, and I think that's where you guys in Scavolini can really do this well, because as architects and designers, we want to be creative. We want our spaces to be, again, as mentioned, to be distinct with the house, with the architecture, with the interiors, and we don't want this to be hosting a generic piece, but we want it to be, again, a language of our philosophy. And I think, again, collaborating with you guys can make things happen, no? So our clients will be happy also that they don't see their kitchen similar to another kitchen that we've done. So we don't also repeat ourselves.
Yes, that's correct. Nikki, maybe we can show
so Brian, I'm seeing that we have some photos that we want to show everyone, just to kind of feature the different parts of the house that they can actually kind of use in their in various spaces, because this doesn't look like it belongs to just a kitchen. This looks like you can actually put this in a man cave.
Correct. This is actually Val Cucine. As I mentioned, this is the premium brand in Italy. This is a very unique piece. It's called the Logica Celata. When you translate it to English, it means helmet. So it actually looks like a piece of furniture, but as Architect Royal said, everything we do is custom. We provide the tools, but then, to be able to create the space, we work with architects and designers in terms of what finishes they want, what functions they want to put in there. So it's a total collaboration. So this particular photo, as I said, is a hidden bar. So I think Sir Budji mentioned a while ago, man caves are, it's one of the common requests today. I guess if you're locked down with your wife for, like my wife's here, for a good amount of time.
Watch your
there should also be a woman. I guess there should also be a woman cave, a man cave, and a woman cave. But it's gender neutral. But I think this is a good example where you can put your wine, you can do cocktails by yourself at home.
Yeah, it's a very unique sink.
Yeah. So it can go from 1.5 meters all the way to 4 meters wide. It's an interesting piece because some of our clients put this in their lanai, or as in a bar, or also in the kitchen. You can integrate it with other pieces. Yeah.
Well, I've used this. This is my favorite kitchen brand, actually, Val Cucine, because it has this modernity about it. It has the atmosphere because of the backlighting, which I don't see in other kitchens. And I think particularly for man cave is perfect. Now for the women, I think the kitchen, the show kitchen and the service kitchen, that's where the woman reigns. But in the man cave, I think the bar is very important.
I think, Brian, man caves are designed for men because the whole house is for the woman.
Yes. I was just gonna say we get the whole house, you get the
Yeah.
man
Yeah.
cave.
So don't feel privileged having a man cave.
Your
Usually,
kingdom is
usually,
very small.
usually it's in the basement. You know, the usually beside the bodega or the storage.
With the least natural lighting.
Yeah.
So speaking of the rest of the house, I believe this next photo is, this caters more to the women. Can you tell us more about it, Brian?
I think it's yeah, it caters to the women for entertaining. It's a
Yes.
good multi-use space during these times where for some people they have teenage kids, so it's a good space to actually hang out and lounge around. Um, what we're actually highlighting here is actually the system. It's a wall-to-wall system with leather doors or veneer panels and glass elements. So it's custom as well. I think Architect Royal mentioned earlier that for him he spends the most time in the entertainment room. So we watch a lot of Netflix. We do a lot of things. Some people play games, so they put their PlayStation there. It's a unique space as well. Yeah.
This next one is of particular interest to me because I've been spending so much time in the kitchen.
We actually do like 2-hour product presentations on these things, but for today, since it's actually casual talk and we don't want it to be too scholarly.
You just want to see
I
what's new
I
out
just wanted,
there.
yeah. This is a new collaboration between Scavellini and a fitness expert in Italy. Our friends from Scavellini in Italy are watching us today. So I think this is very unique because in Italy they have shared spaces for different purposes. This is actually a bathroom. You see the Swedish ladder at the back. That's where they mount the mirror, the lights, the cabinetry. But the unique thing up here is that on the left side there's a bed, and then there's that bar where you can do your TRX or Pilates. So it's a unique piece as well.
Very beautiful. Now, just to throw this question to our architect Royal and Sir Budji, and maybe Brian can weigh in as well. In your opinion and observation, since we're dealing with Italian luxury brands, what Italian sensibilities stand out? And what about their spirit works well with Philippine architecture and design? Because I mean, just to be honest, it can be very intimidating.
Well, what's good with this, I would say, collaboration, no, with the Italian sensibility and the Filipinos, uh, I would say the common ground is the handcrafted, no, handmade. The refinements of the Italians, how they do things with their leather works, with their, construction of all these goods. No? I think these are good things that we Filipinos can learn from. At the same time, I think the Filipinos should collaborate and integrate their sensibility in how we, for example, how we design our kitchen with Scavolini or Valcocine. They can actually interpret our visions as architects and designers into their quality and their construction methods, how they build it. And I think that's where we both learn from each other. I think this modern bayanihan of international collaboration will make the country better because we cannot just close our minds and not work with the world. No? I think it's always good to expose ourselves to the great things, best practices of the world. But then I think as we learn that, we will also get to refine our own. And maybe one of the best practices of the world will be coming from the Philippines. So let's not discard that. Let's always be open to growth and evolution. No? So I think that's where I feel that we need to encourage knowing the best and finding out what's best out there and try to understand it. And again, the products that you are looking at, the items that we've designed and we've worked with, I think it's quite a stunning piece of art. So it's good for all the Filipinos out there.
So just as architect mentioned, it's really a marriage of both sensibilities. Now we are aware of the Filipino sensibilities, but Brian, maybe you can, kind of tell us what these Italian sensibilities are. Which of these stand out?
Yes, actually, Italian technology and design is always there. They've been doing this for a very long time. But on the flip side of things, whenever I send projects that we do, to our Italian counterparts, whether it's Cavallini or Valcocine, they're very impressed with our projects. For example, in this photo, this is actually a house designed by architect Royal and Sir Budji. We collaborated on this kitchen. If you notice, the furniture is actually locally made, but it's right beside the Valcocine kitchen, which is handmade in Italy. So it's a good marriage between local architecture and Italian design and sensibilities. As I said earlier, we only provide the tools. It's the job of the designers to actually come up with like the total product or the total environment. In these photos, you see that those are actually slim hidden drawers. It's called Genius Loci. It's 8 centimeters high, and it's the perfect height for cutlery. Those can be applied onto the tables and also to the stone countertop on the right side of the photo. This project was actually featured in Philippine Tatler recently. The owner is a very nice person. Architect Royal can probably talk more about them. But it was also featured by Valcocine Italy because they're proud of our work. They want to promote it as well in a global landscape.
Just to add, no, if you look at the architecture and if you relate it back to the kitchen, you can see that the DNA is one. No? How the play of materials, the wood, the graphite materials, the glass, and the exposure to the garden, to the nature itself. The permeability of the architecture actually resonates also in the kitchen design. So again, these things are actually like what you're seeing now. These are the spaces. These are actually very integral and very important in the totality of what we're trying to express as modern Filipino sensibility. Again, it's not gonna be easy to present what is Filipino if we cannot orchestrate, and put together all these elements. We have to make sure that everybody is playing the same song and we are all in the same rhythm. And that is why even if it's an Italian product that we have to bring in, it needs to be curated. It needs to be well put together with the full concept of the house. And then we have a clear message. We have a clear particular voice that we're saying this is the modern Filipino sensibility.
Now, I hope our homeowners are taking note of that. Our future designers are jotting these things down, priceless nuggets of wisdom. But before we get too technical, we just want to take a breather and share our poll results. Do we have them right now? So earlier, we asked everyone where they have been spending most of their time during the quarantine. And our choices are kitchen, living office space, or bedroom. And 48% said they have been spending more time in their living rooms or their office spaces. Okay, that figures because, what with the whole work from home setup. But actually, yeah, second to the kitchen, I want to say I also have been spending a lot of time in our living room. Sometimes the setup is we're all in the same space, but we're all on our own. Maybe someone's reading a book or someone's on a gadget, someone's working, but we're all together. But let's for now zero in on the most active space and heart of the home, which is the kitchen. As I mentioned earlier, I personally have been living in my kitchen from morning coffee to my son's online classes. All of our meals are there. Prior to the lockdown, we were able to entertain small groups of friends there. I find that it's also a nice way to entertain. It's very intimate. And, so up until midnight snacking, we're in the kitchen, always in the kitchen. And I would imagine many of our audience members right now finding themselves there too. What with everyone baking their own ube cheese pandesal and sushi bake. But of course, with respect to your industry experience, architect and Sir Budji, how would you design a kitchen space for the modern Pinoy? Like, do you have specific layouts that you are kind of like biased to, or do you have a signature trademark in designing a kitchen?
Well, in all our homes, we have a show kitchen wherein you can actually entertain together with your guests while they are having lunch or dinner, and you are there preparing some of the food. So it's an open plan kitchen with a dining room and a living room. This is a very much part of our design philosophy of modern sensibility. And I think very important to point out here is the East and West influences of working together with our Filipino sensibility and the Italian European sensibility for creating designs and products that are for kitchen, putting together the sensibility that's East and West.
East
Yeah,
and West.
well, that's quite important, no? The entertainment, because Filipinos, we love to feed our guests, you know. I mean, I think that's a very strong feature of the Filipino culture. And what's nice now with the open space and planning of kitchen, I think it makes it more, I would say, casual and relaxed, no? How we entertain our guests. And I think the key there is how to show refinement and sophistication. You start to bring in again all this technology and I would say the expertise of the European side. I think it's nice to mesh it, no? And again, come up with something that is an evolved Filipino sensibility. You know? Again, it needs to progress. It cannot be forever banggerahan, you know, or the old banggera. No? I think we should come up with something that will respond to the present lifestyle of the Filipinos today. You know? And again, as I say, you know, we're so international already as Filipinos. I think we all deserve a good lifestyle or a good kitchen or a good living room or whatever we see that is globally best. I think the Filipinos deserve to have it also. And that is how we should approach it by collaborating. We call it in Budji Royal, we call it practical luxury. You know? We call this approach practical luxury, wherein you can have the luxury of design of things through creativity. No, it doesn't have to be constantly expensive. No, there are a level of reasonable price items. No, and I think that's for value for money. You then put your creative mind and come up with a solution that will give the Filipinos a better way of life. So that is how practical luxury came out when we designed this. We coined this concept for the Philippines, not just for the private project, but I think this is the road leading us to the modern Philippines. No, practical luxury is something that can happen now, even at this moment after we talk. You can bring this home with you. Practical luxury is betterment. We can have it right away.
Yeah.
Thank you, architect. Brian, given the whole practical luxury philosophy by Budji Royal and their signature style, how would you say the Italian sensibilities fit in now? Like, what kind of presence do they bring into Budji Royal's vision of the Filipino home?
I think that's a very good question, and it might sound counterintuitive at times. Practical being equated with Italian is not, the most common thing to talk about. But to be honest, we've worked a lot with clients and their budgets. Um, I'm not a salesman per se. I like design. I enjoy what I'm doing. So, a lot of our friends and clients who are probably watching today would know that I don't upsell. I can sell the most expensive kitchen in the world, but I don't do that. I want to make sure that, I tell my designers, in our team that, sometimes cheaper can be even, can be better. So it's a matter of, organizing the modules, these tools that we have in our hands. It's a matter of balancing budget versus function versus aesthetic. So it's actually enjoyable for me because I'm actually an engineer in terms of education, but I enjoy design and aesthetics. So it's actually a mix of both worlds. I wanted to share with you guys this photo that's pulled up right now. And in the poll results, most people stay in the living room, probably watching Netflix. So if you guys watched the final table, the Italian section of that show featured Chef Carlo Cracco, who's probably the #1 chef in Italy or in Milan right now. So he designed this in collaboration with Scavolini. And Sir Budji touched on, the show kitchen, and Architect Royal said, we don't have compartmentalized spaces in the home anymore. It's not like before where the living room is its own room, the kitchen is its own room, or the dining room, there's a formal dining room. With a kitchen like this, you see the line system at the back. You can put herbs, you can display your wine bottles. It's an interesting concept. Before, people, at a certain level would hire chefs, to come to their homes for special occasions. This is the perfect kitchen for that. But now people like my wife can cook as well, in a kitchen like this. So it's a very...
You have to upgrade.
You have to upgrade. So if you look at the details here, it's actually stainless steel countertops, steel doors, but mixed with terrazzo stone, which is very trendy nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's a nice kitchen concept.
It's gorgeous. Thanks, Brian. Now, besides cooking, as you mentioned earlier, and according to our poll, most people are spending a lot of time in our living spaces. So that's the home office, could be a living room, the sunroom, basically other areas that we use during the day. So I want to throw this question to Architect Royal and Sir Budji. How would you envision this idyllic living space based on what clients do on a daily basis? I mean, I know it varies individually, it varies per client, but I'm sure you are seeing a pattern.
Well, there are many kinds of living spaces. There are spaces that are big in big houses, and there are spaces that are in apartments, condominiums. But what puts this together, this big or small space, is the kitchen actually.
Mm-hmm.
In a small space, it's like the jewel of the house. A kitchen, a show kitchen is like the jewelry of the house. It shows you where your sensibility is, whether you take seriously the living space where you cook, where you entertain. To me, is the highlight of the home right now, is to have that open space with a beautiful kitchen, whether it's small or whether it's big. The kitchen is like your jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, designing these living spaces is when we do things, it's it's based on our real philosophy of nature. No, we always try to be inspired by nature, and when we do space planning, basically we're all flowing in and out. No, we don't create barriers, and we always feel that nature is the best healing element. No?
Mm-hmm.
And if in fact we always say, our houses, we try to solve this design challenge that we should not turn on a single bulb of light during the day. No, our
Oh,
homes
wow.
should have and should achieve this challenge. And we should not be dependent on energy during the day. The idea is to keep it as natural as possible. With the absence of power, it should still function. And these spaces can really be, again, a host of man to be a real dwelling unit, to be a real shelter for man. Because again, our home is the most important location or place where we should be. So I think if we are looking at designing homes, designing living spaces, we want to make it as natural as we can. And then, of course, you put all these elements of technology. These are for me, these are the second line or the next in line to consider. I think the best solution is always the basic. If you can solve it from the very beginning, then it should be the best. Then the rest follows. You can add on all these extras.
Speaking of add-ons, Brian, what do you think would go with the kind of architecture that Architect Royal is talking about?
I think it's similar to your background right now. This is actually another brand that we work with called Bianca, and they do a lot of veneer. This is actually natural wood, whether it's walnut or oak. It's actually bringing the outside in. And then in this particular case, it's a good dwelling space. There's a TV there, and then for those who collect books or decors, you can put it all around, the space. But at the same time, the TV actually can be hidden. So, technology, as Architect Royal said, is secondary. And I think, part of it is actually human interaction. So with this Bianca system, you can slide the doors and it can enclose the television set. So, when you're scolding your daughter, for example, or your son, you can turn off the TV. So it's what we do here is we actually really enjoy what we do. And, we try to understand, how end users or how clients will actually live in these spaces and, what actual experiences they will get. Yep.
But
Thank you.
Go ahead, Architect.
Look at that, that's a beautiful shelf, The entertainment, the previous shot is quite stunning. I mean, it really represents an identity of maybe the client or the personality of the client. And this is where storage becomes very important,
Yes.
And this is again inspired by nature. This is inspired by man, by the client, that man being nature himself is an inspiration. So if you notice, if you follow a process that is truthful to the inspiration, it will lead you to a very distinct identity, which leads you to the very important part that what you create constantly is gonna be authentic. It is not a copy. It is not something that you saw in the magazine. It's because you were very, very focused in trying to bring out the nature of the person and the nature of the place. And then you come up with an imagery that is yours. So it's not something that you've seen before if you will do it constantly that way.
I'm actually multitasking here. I am moderating, but at the same time taking down as much as I can. Such a privilege. But before we move on to another space in the house, I'd like to invite our viewers to send in their questions. We're going to be opening the floor to your questions later on. If you have anything that you would like to address specifically to any one of our panelists, feel free to do so. We have a bit of time later on to answer them. I know I have my own set of questions, so I will not try to hog all the airtime. But so just send them in and we're going to be reading them later on. Now, okay, after a busy day, our private spaces are always something that we look forward to. So by private spaces, we're talking about the bedroom. So I think almost everyone finds solace in their bedroom or maybe their walk-in closet or even the bathroom. And so I just want to know, architect and Sir Budji, how do these spaces look when you design them? Like, I'm sure you have, before you get to know the individual client, you kind of work with the template. Do you have non-negotiables, and are there specific things that you insist on doing when it comes to designing the bedroom?
Go ahead.
So, bedrooms are, very important. In fact, a lot of people really makes use of this room as almost like their suite, no? Like everything is happening there. Everything is happening. They have their lounge there. And take note, in that bedroom, you have the access to your walk-in closet, to your toilet. It's almost like a full house, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And these designs that we always try to put together is where we feel that, that if you can put the most luxurious function in this unit, no, and because there is so much of contacts, no, like when I say contacts, like you lie down on the bed, no, so you put a very very, I would say, refined and very smooth material, no, that is part of luxury. But I think in terms of design, we always want it to be open, even if you have and you want the privacy, there's always this option to be open to the outdoors. And with that also, when I talk about the basicness, that is basic. It needs to be open to the outdoors. Now the add-ons is where we put all this, again, the entertainment part of it. We have the entertainment cabinet. We have the workstations that where we try to manage also some of the, some clients bring their home and we bring their work at home and sometimes work from home. They have a small corner. I think all of these are part of what we try to say luxury in that space. If we can put it all together, it would be a treat to the client.
Mm-hmm.
They thank us for giving them a good master's bedroom or a bedroom. So, yeah.
Sir Budji?
To add to that, aside from all the necessary things that you need to have in your bedroom, one very important aspect is lighting. Because integrated lighting within the cabinetry creates the mood and the atmosphere of the space. I think one of the most important things in creating design is lighting to create a feeling of intimacy or functionality. And built-in lighting into the cabinetries of your dressing room, of your bedroom, of your workspace is very important to achieve it on certain times of the day.
Mhm.
Yes, no, I definitely agree. One of our mistakes when we were designing our bedroom, seeing as I know very little, was lighting. It's something that you don't really think about. Initially you just think about lighting as coming from some source from the ceiling, and you don't realize the importance of it, coming from other sources, like as Sir Budji mentioned, cabinetry, which brings us to, Brian, is there, maybe you can show us what new innovations there are when it comes to areas like the bedroom. Like I'm as Architect Royal mentioned earlier, bedrooms have become more than just sleeping areas. Sometimes you need a work area, you need your entertainment areas also there. So maybe you can show us some photos.
Sure, Nikki. This photo actually is, helps me represent the men who are watching right now, which I don't know how many percent, is actually, men. When I meet with clients, I mostly talk to the housewives, because we talk about the kitchens. And then when we design closets, actually like 80% of the closet is usually for the woman, and 20% is for the men. So I think I wanted to show.
Generous.
Yeah, that's generous. So I wanted to show this photo, where Sir Budji mentioned about integrated lighting. A lot of people that are, fashionable, they want to be able to organize their clothes properly. The shoe rack, for example, is another example of a customized piece that you can put into the system. Although today, a lot of people would put like a shoe system or a shoe closet in the ground floor closer to the entrance of the house. So, these photos we show you now are just examples of what we can do, but it's actually all custom. So Architect Royal mentioned, it's about luxury in terms of finishes and aesthetics, in terms of texture. In this particular photo, you see that, for example, the bed frame on the right matches actually the wardrobe doors on the left. And all these integrated handles are also, it looks simple, but for the discerning eye of designers and architects, I think it makes a big difference. The devil is really in the details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, those are beautiful. Yeah. Definitely something that a wife and a very fashionable husband will appreciate.
Yeah. I think the
that's
next
also-
photo is
This
actually...
is a Scavolini bathroom.
Yeah, so the earlier those were Piangka night systems. So basically where people spend their time during the night. This one is actually a Scavolini bathroom. So it's one of the newest ones. You see these brass details. I think in terms of trends, metallic pieces in small doses is actually a nice trend that we see nowadays. They match it with the faucet, they match it with the lighting fixture and the shelving. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, Brian, Architect Royal, and Sir Budji for a very enlightening discussion. I have so many scribbles right now, just trying to take everything in. But now we open the floor for some questions from our audience. So but while we give them time to kind of compose those questions, maybe I can start with my own. Architect and Sir Budji, what would you say are the most common design faux pas or things that make you cringe when you walk into a space? What are your no-nos, basically?
Oh,
A lot.
Well, right now I'm a little bit not focused on that, so I'd let Royal talk about it.
Okay.
When I say a lot, when you're sure of a vision, an idea, you tend to really know what to take out, and the do's and don'ts, right? And I think in terms of design, I'll be very general. I think we try not to decorate. We try not to put ornamentations. We try to make things as honest as it can be. And again, this honesty and this truthfulness of design actually creates a specific aesthetic that leads you to a very clear, real sophistication. And that is for me and Budji Royal's aesthetic. That becomes our aesthetic. Our aesthetic is it's not really a style. It's not a look, but it's more of based on a philosophy. Wherein when you follow the philosophy and you follow this particular process of being constantly faithful to the philosophy, we're just constantly surprised. We ourselves are also surprised to see a new aesthetic. The result of it becomes a new aesthetic, which is part of that innovation of design. So that's why whenever we see our design becoming quite different and never been seen before, that we've never been seen, I mean, we ourselves, we never saw it before, we're surprised and we're happy with that, because that means to say we're able to develop. And again, trying to take out all these do's and don'ts. I mean, to somehow define them. I think it's very general. I think it's more of philosophy. I think philosophy edits it. The philosophy edits it. It makes it easy. It makes it easy for us.
Got it. Thank you, Architect. Thank you, Sir Budji. We'll move on to other questions from our viewers right now. We have one coming from JV Del Rosario. He says, I see all the designs are sleek and very modern. The furniture you mentioned are all Italian. What else in the presented photos present a Filipino trait or Filipino design? I didn't see any Filipino ornaments in the photos. What element in the photos present a uniquely Filipino home? Although important as well, are there non-abstract qualities in the designs presented?
Okay. If you notice in most of the photos you viewed, they were focused on the kitchen, the cabinetries. But if you look very closely, the furniture, the artworks, the open space into the tropical living, you know, open, the light coming in, the proportion, you know, the scale. These are things that are part of our design, wherein we bring in natural light, wherein we have Philippine furniture, Philippine art, and that feeling of proportion of height, spaciousness. Those are our sensibilities. Sometimes you cannot see them because of the clean lines, but that's part of the overall design approach we have, is to bring in light, have the right proportions, the right heights, and the Filipino craftsmanship with the furniture, the lighting, the artwork. I myself create furniture designs, and I always incorporate something of what we design in Budji Royale.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Sir Budji.
Very,
Architect, would you like to add?
yeah, it's very total, no? Like we design, as much as possible, if we can design everything, no? From the architecture to the landscape to the lamps, no? To the furnitures. You know, we will try to, again, keep everything faithful to the philosophy, if we can do it, no? So I think that's where collaboration starts to kick in. When we try to, let's say, design modular or built-in cabinets and closets and kitchen, we also know that this is an expertise, no? And that is why we collaborate. But what we cannot also accept is we just try to get all these products and put it in our projects without putting it as part of the total design. So we need to make sure that a company like this Scabolini and Balcucine can accommodate our visions, no? And so, like, if you look at this image that you're seeing now, we have pieces that are almost Filipinos. Everything is Philippine design here, and some accents of again the kitchen details, which is in the previous shot. I think you will see there, no? That it still goes together, no? It's still part of the whole sensibility of the modern Filipino.
Speaking of modern architect, and maybe I'll throw this question to Brian. We have one question from Leandro Llorente, and he says, how do these products integrate smart technology? Something very new here in the Philippines.
Yeah. You know, I think integrating smart technology is actually about collaborating with other companies. You know, we know these brands that are called, you know, Sonos, for example. You know, they do smart speakers. You know, you integrate these products into our cabinet systems. You know, you put the high-tech television sets, or you put like smart appliances, like the new Samsung refrigerator has a giant screen in front of it. So it's really all, in our case, it's also about collaboration. You know, we admit that, you know, we do cabinet systems, but in order to complete the kitchen, you know, we also need all these appliance brands and, you know, all these smart devices. Valcucine is actually a good example because, you know, they have these automated doors that you can open. Actually, we can't show the video right now, but in our Instagram pages, you will probably see this. You wave your hand, and then the door actually lifts up automatically.
Wow.
The lighting, which Sir Budji mentioned, in this particular case, it incorporates the circadian circle. So basically, it integrates, the time of the day. So sunrise all the way to sunset. The lighting behind it will change based on that. So we configure it in terms of what time it is here in the Philippines, and it actually mimics the outdoor lighting. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Brian. We have a question from
Thank you.
Reggie Yu. This one is addressed to Architect Royal and Sir Budji. He's asking, do you take into consideration feng shui when you craft your designs, especially when you're dealing with Chinese clients?
Yes, we do. Particularly when we're dealing with Chinese clients, we take into consideration the feng shui and work around it actually. But when we do not agree with some of the things, we voice it out. At the end of the day, the owner has the last decision on that.
Architect, you agree?
Yeah, we take it as a design challenge, no?
Yeah.
These are design parameters. Feng Shui is already, I mean, it's an ancient practice, no? And I think part of how design can solve things, no, and express its I would say power to put together and create a product. I think it's more of trying to satisfy all these givens as a requirement from clients. And again, feng shui being part of it, definitely we marry design and our own philosophy with the feng shui that's being asked from the project. No? So I think it's a matter of composition. No, it's a matter of composition.
Thank you, Architect. This next question, I want to say, I want to give to Brian. This one's coming from Jerome Galarpe. Actually, anyone can weigh in on this. The photos that we've been seeing are of the kitchens and the cabinet systems in the context of large spaces. He is asking, in tight spaces or areas, would Italian furniture fit and blend to modern Filipino design? I guess, or Italian, the brands that basically Modularity Home carries.
Oh yes, definitely. Definitely, especially when you're talking of small spaces, the more important it is to be able to come up with a kitchen, let's say, or a cabinetry that will really fit and give the necessary function that you have for a kitchen. Particularly in condominiums right now, that open space planning is very important, and that's where I say that the kitchen, the open plan kitchen design is like the jewelry of the home because it's what you see, it's where you spend most of your time, and I think that's where you spend more of your budget when it comes to furnishing.
Yes.
Kitchen is the most, I think, important part of a home.
Yeah. Can I add on to that?
Go ahead, Architect.
Small spaces, it's even more important to have all these, I would say, well done and refined creations. No? And that is including either it's furniture, it's kitchen, the interior architecture, the total design of the room. Because it's a small space, it deserves very, very slick and I would say well-detailed creations, or somehow the way it's crafted should be of great quality, no? Because it's already a small space, no?
Yes.
So somehow, if that is, if you're asking for a design approach, definitely for small spaces, you need to put in the best already because it's so easy per square meter.
Yes.
It's already so small, no? So you have to put in your best effort,
Yes.
in design.
Go big or go home.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, go ahead, Sir G.
Okay. You're talking of sleek design, sleek modern design. I believe that it doesn't have to be just sleek design, but modern design. Particularly, we were doing this apartment in Paris. It's very traditional, very Parisian apartment. When we converted the dining room, the formal dining room, we decided that the owners wanted something very casual. So with all the elegance and the detail of a French Parisian apartment, we integrated a modern kitchen, a modern open kitchen within the dining room, together with all the elegance of the French space
All
and
the molding, all the.
chandelier. We incorporated a very modern kitchen, open kitchen with all the richness of it, and it works. I think that's what modern means. Is that you incorporate things that you need in this modern age, like a functioning kitchen. Even if you're doing a very European styled home, you can still incorporate modern kitchen design because it's not because you do not like Filipino all the way, but it's because the Italians do their kitchens very well. And so you mix that West, and then you mix it with the East, which is us, together in a living space that spells modernity.
Perfect marriage of both, no?
Nikki.
Thank you. Yes, yes, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to say thanks to architect Jerome. He's actually one of my friends. I think he's still with Robinson's Land. So he's probably, pertaining to condominium units. We've done a lot of condominium units. The kitchens, of course, are very limited in terms of space. But as Architect Royal said, we really have to integrate like good function, understand exactly how many people will live in that space and how much cutlery and plates and glasses that they have. So it's actually an issue of problem solving. It's a very for me, it's really a challenge to do small spaces. But Scavolini being modular, we can do small spaces or big spaces. So we don't really, it doesn't matter if it's big or small.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. We're actually getting a lot of questions right now, so I'm having a hard time picking the best ones. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go with this. This one is coming from Ome Itum. He says, "How do you think the present global crisis is going to reshape aesthetic preferences?" That's a good question. Anyone is free to answer.
Nikki,
How do you? Sorry, it's how do you think the present global crisis is going to reshape aesthetic preferences?
Well, I think this is where essential designing comes in, wherein you actually create a space with what is most essential. Let's say kitchen design, or home designs, particularly for the space of workspace, kitchen space. Essential essential approach to design is very important. Do not decorate.
Do not decorate. Let me just write that down on my forehead. Okay.
A while ago, I also mentioned the new consciousness, no? I mean, with this pandemic, I believe there's this new consciousness among us, all of us, that we know that we need the basic to be addressed as basic as we can. I mean, that's why I think this is the time that we really need to bring out the best creative minds. Designers come out, great architects come out, because our designs should not be, again, as mentioned a while ago, decorative. It cannot be. If before the pandemic, designs were mostly visual, just to please the eye, or to be controversial, or to be just aesthetic-wise, be appealing. But now it's about really addressing the problem. So what is the problem, and does it really address it? Because if it doesn't address the problem and it doesn't solve it, your design irrelevant, no?
Yes.
So design is now being brought into a very, very strict level of what you can offer should be relevant, no? So I think that will change the design world, no? I think there is a new consciousness, and this new consciousness should be our new driving force in creating new architecture, new products. I mean, anything, passion, everything. It's really all about what's essential.
Got it. Thank you, architect. I'm gonna dive in and just get some of these fan questions, so that we can take a breather from the more technical aspect of architecture and design. This one is coming from an anonymous attendee, and the question is, what was the most ambitious project that you have handled, and did it influence the design process of your current projects?
Oh, well, ambitious. Well, if you're talking of real ambition, we have designed the country and created a vision for Luz Biminda. You know, we call it Luz Biminda. It is a vision to improve the country, you know. But I mean, that is really ambitious. But for us, that ambition is actually our north point. It is our true north, you know. It is our true north to understand that whatever small steps that we do, either we're designing a toilet, a furniture, a landscaping, or even a house, it should lead to that modern Philippines that we are seeing in our heads. You know? It should lead us that somehow when we put all this small stuff together, we can create an imagery of what the Philippines will be in the future. You know, this is our big, I would say, vision. Particularly, we feel that after declaring a vision for Luz Biminda, which is a modern Philippines as a country, connecting with it with bridges, no, with the 3 bridges that will connect Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, then we were able to design New Clark City as a new and modern city, modern Philippine city, no. And now we're designing the modern Philippine airport in Clark. So somehow, having this north point, somehow it makes our lives very clear and very somehow very planned where we want to bring it. So I think it will all happen even to the smallest details of our projects.
Wow. Okay, architect, and Sir Budji, I have a somewhat simpler question, but very practical. This one is coming from an anonymous attendee. She says, as each space in the house caters to different functions, how do you keep the cohesiveness in terms of style as well as the flow of movement of users? I think, Brian, you can also jump in later on if you have some thoughts on this. Again, just to repeat the question, it's as each space in the house caters to different functions, how do you keep the cohesiveness in terms of style and the flow of movement of users?
You know, it all really boils down to who your client is and how you feel. Basically, with our kind of philosophy with Budji Royal, we want to incorporate, you know, everything that is necessary, like weather, atmosphere, design, function. All of that is in the mind as you start a design, and then comes in the owner. The owner's needs very important, but always there is that DNA of our company, which is modern, functioning design spaces that is always consistent. It really never changes. It only changes when it comes to the owner, our client. Who is our client? That's where it's very important.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Sir Budji. Architect, you have anything to add?
Well, as I said no, a while ago, the thing that guides us is a philosophy. The cohesive result, no, it becomes a manifestation. All this look that you're seeing, all the pictures that you've seen, all those houses, the images that you've seen, are all results of that philosophy. No? So it's easy to be cohesive, to be faithful, because you have something, there's already a precept, there's a law that you have to follow in approaching a design. So when you are consistently following it, then you will eventually have a product that I was also mentioning that is authentic, because again, you don't have to be so conscious with the way it will look like.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the process will form it. The very process will form it and end it to a product that you yourself will be surprised that it's not even the totality of the vision that you have in mind, but then because you were following a certain process, it leads you to a very reasonable and logical approach that is again anchored to a philosophy. So philosophy is always the direction. It's not a style, it's not a look, but it is a philosophy.
Okay, thank you, Architect. I have another, we will maybe answer last two questions. We're down to our last two questions. This one is a more practical one also. So Brian, I think you'd best be able, you would be able to answer this best. This one's coming from an anonymous attendee, and she is asking, what is the process if I want to renovate my kitchen? So maybe like a practical, step by step.
Okay, I think that's a good question. What we did recently was we placed on our website like a checklist. When you're designing a kitchen, when you want to do a kitchen, there's a set questions there in terms of how many you are in the family, do you cook, what type of cooking do you do. So I think it's a lot of research and a lot of meditation as to how you really want to use your kitchen. So it's looking from within, collecting all the requirements, and based on my experience, the best kitchens that we've done are with those clients who actually talk a lot. So we have to be very good listeners, and I think Architect Royal and Sir Budji also appreciate clients who voice out their requests, their concerns. And it's very difficult sometimes if client doesn't really tell us what they want, and then we have to imagine what design they want and what functions they want to do. So I think to answer that question, it's really about answering that checklist and coming out with answers that would be relevant to start the kitchen design or the home design process.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, and then we're down to our last question. Don't worry, for those of you who sent in your questions, we will be getting back to you. Someone from Modularity Home will be getting back to you with an answer maybe in the coming week. But for now, we don't want to keep Architect Royal and Sir Budji for too long, so maybe we'll do this one last question. This one goes out to the students out there. This one's coming from Jason Kua, and he is asking, what would you suggest to an aspiring architect? Or if I can add to this question, as an interior design student, maybe you have some words of wisdom, words of encouragement, maybe if there's one thing that you can kind of impart to us who are hoping that one day we will be able to penetrate the design and architecture industry, what is that one thing?
I think for me, very important is to know who you are, to know what you like, and be able to express that in your work, and be able to interpret it to your clients. But very important to know who you are. What I mean is, what's your style? What makes you happy? What makes you creative? If you know what makes you happy, that will bring you to your own identity. And that's very important, is to have your identity. And people will recognize that, and if they like your identity, they will surely look for you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I do agree with that. No, and again, I think speaking from our experience, I think what is important is to search your heart. No? You have to keep searching what is in your heart. I think that's very important because you can only speak with conviction and with confidence when you already know what's in your heart. No? And that is design. That is for me design. Because when we design, architects, designers, when we design, we really put ourselves into that product. No, I mean it's a piece of us. No, and I think with that being an expression of us, if we know what's in our heart and we follow our heart in creating and putting things together, you know, it's so easy to sell the product. It's so easy to tell a client why it's important that it's that way and why it should be this way. Because you have done it, you have resolved it inside you. And I think for future architects and designers, the only reason why you will be a unique brand, because everybody's a brand. No? We are all a brand. That's why we carry our name. No? You're Nikki. No? I think what's important is to refine your brand. You have to be able to refine yourself. No? And that's the only time that your value will come out. It will pop out, and you will be hired by clients. Otherwise, if you're just like another off-the-shelf product, you know, the issue is a price war. No? But if you are unique and you pop out, you really stand out against the rest, I think you can demand for your price, and the success will be there.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Architect Sir Budji. Of course, Brian, I'm sure our guests, our audience members learned so much. I know I learned so much. It's going to take me the whole evening to process everything I learned. Who would have thought that after all the technical terms that are being thrown left and right, my takeaway would be follow your heart and know who you are and just refine your brand and definitely wow, priceless nuggets of wisdom. Thank you very much once again, Architect Royal Pineda, Sir Budji Layug, and of course Brian. Thank you for sharing with us all of the latest technology and innovations from Italy. Thank you to Modularity Home, of course, for this initiative and for letting me be a part of this wonderful series. Maybe I can just throw the spotlight on our guests for some final words. Anyone can go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first, thank you so much again, no, Brian, Nikki, for having us. And thank you for also joining us here today, everybody who's with us now in this particular event. And we just want to, you know, take this opportunity also to ask you guys to please dream with us in having the modern Philippines. No? The modern Philippines is not just an endeavor of Budji Royal, but we feel that this is a dream for everybody, for every Filipino. I think through architecture and design, this is our contribution. But we would like to inspire also a lot of Filipinos to want it and need it, because I think we just have to assert ourselves and we have to ask for it because we deserve it. You know? So thank you so much for letting us part with you small details of our creative philosophies and our approach in design. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Architect.
Thank you very much for inviting us and allowing us to share our sensibilities. What I would like to add to is that, you know, we are Filipinos, and I think that spirit of the Filipino, that love for life, enjoyment, is one of the most important things of being a Filipino. Enjoy your work, and at the end of the day, enjoy every process that you need to, and keep on growing, learning, and living life with design.
Thank you, Sir Budji. Brian?
Nikki, thank you so much for agreeing to host this. It's very interesting, and I wanted it to be a win-win situation. You're an interior design student. I wanted to thank everyone who took the time out to join us today. All my friends and industry friends who actually shared the invitation on social media. You guys really helped a lot. We're not a media outfit. We're just a small company. But we were able to bring together a lot of aspiring architects, designers, or regular people, housewives, and it's a very interesting talk. And most importantly, I wanted to say thank you, Architect Royal. When we spoke on the phone, wala pang signal dito sa bahay, so we were on a WhatsApp call. You told me that you will help me set the roadmap for MODTalks, and I think we were able to accomplish that. Sir Budji, your generosity to me, is speechless. Super thank you for all your nuggets of wisdom and for the time you spend, mentoring, teaching us. We really enjoy working with your firm. So thank you so much to you guys. Please stay tuned, for the next episodes. We have to organize it. We'll let you guys know. Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks, Brian. And again, thank you, Sir Budji and Architect Royal. It has been a real privilege to pick your brilliant brains. This fan is overjoyed. Now, once again, for those of you who had questions, do not worry. They did not fall on deaf ears. Someone from Modularity Home will get in touch with you in the coming week. But before that, we'd like to invite you to follow us on social media to get updates on the next episode. And if you have any inquiries, all of the information are flashed on your screens right now. So you may follow us to get updates on the next episode. Until then, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we hope to see you again on the next episode of Mod Talks. This has been Nikki Gil Albert. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.